Patterns of reflection came to me as kind of a collective of visions and information that's come to me from really 25 years of working with the angels and what they've shared with me about their realm and the dimensions in which they live, and which has inspired my music for 20 years. So it's really a journey into the patterns and to the codes and of the quantum realm. Like we're gaining access into this realm. And I always start here where really it started for me to really open up. And this is in Sedona. This is Boynton Canyon. And although I've been on my spiritual journey for many years, ever since I was really a young child and teenager, when I followed my guidance to move to Sedona in the early 90s, my life went on a different trajectory. And it was that time where it became very clear that I was on a shamanic journey and that I was to travel into the other realms to see for myself firsthand. So, and as I embarked on this journey, my intention was to get in touch with my mission. You know, I knew I was a light worker since I was young, and knew I was here to help with the transformation of planet Earth at this time of great planetary awakening, like many of us. And I've had distinct missions. Being a starseed, I've had kind of soul knowledge of the stars and feeling more connected to, you know, other worlds than more so than Earth in many ways. A lot of us have this common experience. So I really felt like I was a spaceman from another planet, but I didn't know exactly where it was. I had glimpses and visions. So this was my time to really cross over all the way. It was really a life or death experience for me, and through my higher guidance, I was led to Sedona. And I ended up giving away most of my material possessions and acquired a Volkswagen van and lived for 3 years in my car. Now, initially, it was just following Spirit's guidance that you're going to go on a journey, so you need a van so you can cruise and take care of yourself and follow the whisper of Spirit to guide me to places. But I spent 3 years living in my car in this area, sleeping every night, and just living on the land and really exploring the canyons and particularly the extraordinary silence. So I went into an active period of just listening. The idea was to become completely still, you know, like, and go into emptiness, as the Buddhists speak about, or go into the 0 point of myself. And here there's such an extraordinary silence in the canyons of Sedona. And this is one of the major vortex area. There's supposedly an etheric temple here, a crystalline temple in the 5th dimension that people see. Very potent place with many ancient ruins around. So it was here spending hours and hours, days and weeks and months and years meditating here and just going deep, deep into silence, because there's that old saying, be still and know that I am God. And also silence is golden. So I went deep into the silence and I really opened my inner hearing, because I had known from the mystics about the inner light and the inner sound, the sound current. So my intention and my quest was to connect deeply with the inner sound current. So when I went deep into the silence, then all of a sudden I had an opening in my consciousness. I call it my third ear, simultaneously as my third eye was opening, because I was doing a lot of exercises and practice to open my psychic vision. My third ear opened and I began to hear the heavenly music, the inner music, the angels singing. And it was, at first, when I was out here and this started to happen, I thought that maybe somebody had a portable stereo out there and was playing classical music. I was definitely in an altered state. But then I realized, no, that I was hearing something internally. And the more I connected with it, the stronger it became. And to the point where it seemed like everything was echoing this grand music of the spheres. Did you see the movie August Rush? About the boy who hears the music? That's what it was like for me, very much like that. So I'm going to move along. I have a lot of images to show you, but this is where it started. A doorway opened up for me here. I write about more in detail in my book. All of this is in my book, Hearing the Angels Sing. Just another unique picture, submarine rock. But what happened was I was taken up into the light on the sound. Inner voice said, let the music take you away. Let this sound current take you. And I went on these inner plane journeys, and ultimately I came to this place where there was the luminous sphere of golden light that many people who have had near-death experiences speak of. And as I experienced it, the light was so bright and so overwhelming. But then as I relaxed into it, it was just felt like just love, divine love, just pure divinity, extraordinary. And it brought me to tears, and spontaneous kind of kundalini kriyas started to happen in my body as I was experiencing this. But as I adjusted my inner vision on the inner planes using my third eye, my clairvoyance, I was able to make out that there was some distinct shapes around the luminous sphere of light. And as I adjusted my vision, I could make out to my astonishment to behold the multitudes of angels spiraling in this vortex of light and love. And they were all singing praises and singing together this grand music of the angels, all singing in a rapture. They were in rapture and ecstasy as we were all beholding this luminous golden light that was just so bright yet felt just pure love. And many people report this. Maybe you've heard some other stories of people who've crossed over. And a lot happened with that, but ultimately what happened, I made contact with the angels, and they revealed to me that my mission in this life was to play the harp and to be a channel for the heavenly music of which I was hearing. And at the time, I wasn't a musician. I was in my early 30s, and this vision to play the harp came through, and at first I thought maybe I was making it up in my imagination. But then it was revealed to me that indeed I was having a true encounter, a celestial encounter, that was truly life-changing. Once I met the angels and realized that they were real, it was like a before and after experience, because, you know, I didn't know what to make of angels. They weren't really a part of my reality. But then when they appeared, it was like, oh my God, they're real, you know. So I connected with them. We developed a pathway of communication through telepathy, and I could see them, and we would carry on conversations. And they shared a lot about who I was and my mission on Earth this time. I ended up, these are all different visions of the throne rooms in the mansion worlds of the angels. It's been described by many mystics. These images are from the turn of the century, early 1900s. Gustave Doré, who illustrated Dante's writings about heaven and earth and the battles of the different angels and whatnot. They often appeared to me like this when I was seeing them. And it was a very shamanic journey. I was doing a lot of anything I could to blow open my mind and soul to have a transcendent experience. Now, I want to show you some pictures because I've had lots of visitations over the years, and I just want to show you that what I'm saying is real. I can invoke the angels with the harp, which is a mythical, legendary instrument throughout the ages in many cultures about its power to invoke angelic beings. So here I was in Peru, and I was with a shamanic journey group. We stopped in the middle of Lake Titicaca on Amintani Island, and we spent the night with these poor Indian people, very sweet, very humble. They had a guest house, and we stayed there. We're in the kitchen with the dirt floor. And my angels told me, I was carrying a small harp with me traveling, and the angels said to play your harp for them, which I did, and my friend took a picture as I'm calling in the angels. And then a couple minutes later, he took another photo. And there. So you can see some sort of ethereal being as shown here. You can see how all the orbs now, the room is before no orbs or anything, maybe subtle around, maybe. Then all of a sudden the orbs and this beautiful angelic being. You can almost see, my pointer's not working, but you can almost see like the wings maybe going up the head here, coming down in the body, and almost like a tail, like a mermaid tail there. Do you see that? Wisp. So I just show these just to show you what I'm talking about is real. It was really like the angels played through me when I decided to work with them. There was one angel in particular that overshadowed me. Overshadowing is an esoteric term which means a spirit or an angel can abide with you and kind of be in your presence and communicate to you through, energetic impulses, intuition, clairvoyance, and to work with them. You can learn things. So this angel came to me to be my harp teacher, and actually, especially in the early years, I would go into a trance when I would play and allow this angel to play through me. And that's how my first recording was made. It was purely a channeling. I'd only been playing the harp for 10 months without any formal lessons, just letting the angels teach me. And I made my first recording then at 10 months, which ended up getting discovered by a record label that released it internationally to critical acclaim, and it was nominated for String Album of the Year in '94, the year it came out. So it was just like a miracle with the angels. And before I did that, they showed me this all in visions that this would happen, and everything happened exactly to a cue. So the idea behind this is that the angels can really work miracles in your life if you connect with the angelic energy. We all have angels around us, and you can learn to develop that relationship and and work some white magic, to create beauty in your life and others. This is another picture that shows my my crown chakra, because since I went out my crown chakra and went up into my, the I am presence, the divine self, the Christ self, there's through the upper chakras. The angels are teaching a lot now about how to access these upper chakras that reside much higher up on a vertical axis above your body. Now this is some of my stained glass work I've been doing since I was 16. And it's just in my book of how I had a vision at 6 that I would make stained glass. And then intuitively I started doing these patterns and designs. And insetting quartz crystal pyramids and cut stars in the center. So integrating the sacred geometry with the crystal and the light. Just flip through some of these so you can see. My paintings that I'm hanging in the hallway at my booth are photographs of these stained glass windows through a prismatic effect that's opening these dimensional doorways into this quantum realm. So this is what the angels are showing me now. So the paintings are a portal. We'll flip through some of these here. This is a recent piece. There's another new ones. This piece is interesting because it's a 6-sided cut crystal in the center with a flower of life, seed of life. And then it morphs into a 4-directional 4 to the 4 directions like a compass. So it's the 6 and the 4, 64, like DNA, right? And other things which I'll get into here about the 64. This is my workspace looking out at Thunder Mountain. These I've been doing since before the music. So these stained glass windows opened a portal for me into this other realm. This is my son. He loves them. That got me into the study of Yantra in the yoga tradition, where you meditate on these shapes and forms, or you can see them in your meditation. If you start seeing these, then you tell your guru what you're seeing, and he can decipher and tell you, what level of awareness you're accessing. But in the same respect, you can meditate upon them, and the shapes carry frequency and can affect our perception and our level of consciousness and brain waves even. Mandalas. So I started to research all of this and learn about it. Tibetan mandalas like the Kala Chakra and the sand painting. Now this one is the Sri Yantra. A lot of you know this, and there's been a lot that's been revealed to me in the last few years, primarily leading up to 2012. I was given a lot of information, and that's when I really started doing these presentations. Was just before 2012. And I'll come back to that Sri Yantra. And that gave me into the understanding of cymatics, how frequency can create patterns, beautiful mandala patterns. These are in a liquid medium with different frequencies. And that relates to the crop circles. So we can see a direct link between cymatics and crop circles. So crop circles carry frequency and frequency codes and harmonic codes within them too. They're multidimensional, hyper multidimensional communication. So when you learn to read them, you can see all the different symbolism and different numerical codes and meaning for the codes and information, because it is a quantum communication happening between a higher extraterrestrial intelligence and humanity. Most of the good ones, you know, a lot of fakes now. But for 3 years I went to England leading groups there leading up to 2012. Really profound to stand inside of them. You know, there's definitely a palpable energy field. And then, of course, you know, these patterns of sacred geometry, of course, the phi ratio spiral is one of the most important that we see and that we're learning about. And of course, we see it reflected in nature. We see it in our inner ear, the cochlea spirals, perfect golden section. What's forming this? What creates this? Do you have any idea what creates this form? Why things grow in this pattern? Including quartz crystal. Pardon? Yeah, this spiral phi ratio pattern that we see, what makes that everywhere you look? Exactly. Let's look at it. So even hurricanes move in phi ratio. Look at that. That was the hurricane that hit New York. Perfect phi ratio spiral. And the way water goes down the drain, even galaxies on a macro level, all the way to the subatomic level, we see this pattern. And of course, the crop circles are communicating to us about that. We live in this, sure. Now, this is an interesting image. This is from NASA, came out in like 2010, from their space-based sensing devices, and they were able to pick up this pattern in the heliosphere. The heliosphere is the bubble of energy coming from the sun. The sun is at the center of our solar system, shines its radiant light out into space, and it's where the light stops going out. Then there's a bubble of light that we live in. The whole solar system, you can see, is in this. Here's the planets right here around the sun, and here's Pluto out here. So this pattern is generated by the sun, but also the galaxy itself spiral, so it goes level to level. Now, of course, the phi ratio is found in the human body. A lot of you know this, so we'll just move through it. Just the relationship between the sections. All phi ratio. So it relates to the Fibonacci sequence, of course, of numbers. I love this image because, let me get down here, and let me look on here. So I found this. This shows how you can make a phi ratio spiral by doing this thing with the rectangles. There's a name for it. It's not like squaring the circle or something like that. But notice here, when I saw this here with the 3 spheres within spheres, it reminded me of something. And then I said, aha, look, here's the Mayan calendar, the Zolkin of the Mayan calendar, which is often depicted as 3 circles. And we can see here, here's the big circle, which is the 20 day signs. And here's the smaller circle. Oh, let's say, no, this is the 20 day signs here. The center is the tones, 13 tones. So it's a 13-20 timing. When these combine in all the combinations, it gives us the larger circle, which is 260, which is the same rotation as Venus, of course. But how that relates to how to create a phi ratio. So I realized that the relationship of to make the phi ratio spiral, the Mayans knew that it's a time spiral we live in and that it's not linear time. These greater cycles are moving in cyclic circles within circles, spiral. This is a great animation here of the Mayan calendar. And you can see here, watch this, the wheels spinning through space, and you're going to see the spiral of time as the Mayans saw it. Watch this here. See the spiral there? Isn't that neat? So it's a time spiral. Okay, I'm going to go here. That's why their timekeeping was so accurate, perhaps even more accurate than modern timekeeping, especially for the greater, larger cycles of time, because they could calculate it through the time spiral dynamics here. This is the Disc of Festos. I came into discovery of this when in 1984 I was traveling in Santorini, Greece, and I saw in a jewelry store a medallion that had this on it. It's called the Disc of Festos. It's an ancient Minoan artifact, clay tablet, found in the Temple of Festos on Crete. about 1,500 years old, or to 2,000, Minoan culture. It's got these hieroglyphic inscriptions on both sides that spiral into the center. I recognized it and knew it immediately as something significant, and there was like a recognition in me. Then, as I tell in my book, I had a out-of-body experience kind of thing, that a vision of this opened up in the sky, because it was one night I was with a friend. It was in the middle of the night in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado in the middle of winter. This was 30 years ago. And we ate some magic mushrooms. This was after my trip to Greece. And we went up in the mountains, and we went up to look at the stars. In the middle of winter, it was cold, and we got out of the car, and the stars, the firmament was just blazing across the sky. And I looked up, and there was the Pleiades star system directly above head. And as soon as I saw it, I was expanded, but something linked into my third eye, and I was like this, and it was just radiating, and it hooked into my third eye, and then something took over me and told me to spin. I heard a voice, so I started spinning with my hands out, looking up at the disc of Festos. At the Pleiades, and then all of a sudden the stars started to spin. All of a sudden something happened, and across the sky was the disc of Festos and the stars. And I got these downloads that this was an ancient star map from the Pleiadians, that they left this artifact. Then, as the years went by and I was writing my book, I was doing research about it, and I found research from a college professor, a woman, who discovered that indeed this is a holographic star map, that all the constellations are in this, and different places within the galaxy and stuff are in the disk. Fascinating. And the spiral shows up in, of course, indigenous cultures. This is in Arizona. We see the spiral. A lot of people, archaeologists, say this is a migration symbol, but perhaps they knew something. This is 4,000-year-old inscription in Lagrange. It's a burial site in Ireland. Spirals going both ways, so showing us like the tube torus nature. The Norway spiral, of course, maybe you saw that, appeared the day before Obama arrived in Oslo to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Many believed it was a sign from the ET showing that they were in support of this, something like this. Do you remember that? Here's some ancient petroglyphs in Arizona. We have many in Sedona like this, but showing the spiral. This one I love because it shows the beings here. They're all holding hands, and they're dancing up, 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 getting bigger, showing the perspective. They're going up, and here's the spiral. Like maybe it was a dimensional portal, like some people think that they exodus and they left the planet. Maybe that was a sign. And of course the crop circles show us this pattern. The other pattern we see a lot in nature and in sacred geometry is hexagons, the flower of life pattern. This is, of course, the honeybee honeycomb, showing the hexagonal crystalline structure and how that relates to the flower of life pattern. This is a wonderful tool to meditate on this and just stare at it. I was doing this in 2011, and then all of a sudden, if you look at it long enough, it'll start to pulsate and move, and you'll start to see all the dimension within it. It's a hologram. The flower of life, it's a hologram. It's 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. But I started to see pyramid shapes in here, and I started to see, if you follow these lines, they go up here, and there's all these series of pyramids kind of reverberating out in all directions. Do you see that? And I thought, oh my God. And then the realization came to me that reminded me of something. The Sri Yantra. So the Sri Yantra is the Maha mantra, yantra of them all. This is a dimensional portal, a diagram, a template. And so I started to look at this and see the relationship between the two, the flower of life and the Sri Yantra. Flower of life is all circles. It's more feminine. And Sri Yantra is all straight lines. It's masculine. It's electric, electromagnetic, everything. Looking at the same thing. And then, just recently, I came upon this in the last couple of weeks, this image. Do you know what this is? This is called the vector equilibrium. It's a form that was deciphered by Buckminster Fuller, the scientist. But what this is you see this triangular patterns of the Sri Yantra in the geometry of it, But when they put a light looking straight down on it, it makes the shadow of the flower of life. Do you see that? Now, let me show you this. Let me get in here. So what I did was hey, where is that piece? I'm sorry. Let me get in here. Oh, I thought I had it open. Excuse me. See. There it is. Okay. Oh, yeah. So what I did is I overlaid the images on each other. Let me enlarge this for you. Okay. Now. So what I discovered was that they actually fit. There is a correspondence here between the lines in the Sri Yantra of the angles of the pyramid and how it connects with the pyramids in the flower of life. Do you see that? It doesn't have to be exact for resonance to occur, for harmonic resonance to occur. So, but you can see the relationship there. Cool, huh? Okay. So there's learning about correspondences. This is one of the Hermetic principles, the law of correspondence. So you study, when you look at things, you see how they relate to other things. And this kind of creates a unified vision of what it is you're looking at. Rather than looking at it linear, we're learning how to see, holographically. This is the next step. And you have to connect your brain circuits in order to see, open your third eye, access other parts of your brain that have been dormant. So the more you work with these shapes and geometries and these patterns, you start to see the unified, cohesive template. And the more you perceive it, the more your brain has to make connections to see it. And it also activates the DNA, the dormant DNA. So when you start, these are very powerful. Now, this is an atomic structure of a graph showing the structure of silicon in quartz crystal. So on the left, we have a vertical view of a quartz crystal looking down, of silicon, which is the main piece of quartz crystal, also the computer chip. So we can see the flower of life, Metatron's cube kind of looking down, and on a diagonal view, we see the tetrahedral reverberating patterns of the Sri Yantra. So here again, Sri Yantra on the right, flower of life on the left. Are you following me? Right? Here it is. Here's another view of it with the vector equilibrium. So now, of course, the hexagon is in the water crystal. And we're 80% water, so when you realize this, then you can start to really program, access yourself on a crystalline level, on the subatomic. And we can see, even looking at atomic structure, how it's a direct reflection of the flower of life and the seed of life, and the way that atoms and electrons, nucleus, all that orbit around each other. And this is interesting. This pattern of the hexagon is even found on the bottom of the planet Saturn on the North Pole. The Voyager spacecraft, or Cassini spacecraft of NASA, has discovered a large hexagon shape on the pole of the planet. This is the infrared of Saturn. You can see this. Very intriguing. What's causing that? Then we see this pattern, of course. It's the tube torus. It's spiraling both directions. Go through these. The planet has one around the planet, and we have one around us. So we're quite a complex system of energy fields, and the crop circles, of course, are reflecting this to us, for us to understand this, of electromagnetics and the field. Here's an interesting correspondence. Quartz crystal angle of all facet faces of a natural quartz crystal are exactly 52 degrees. Same with the Great Pyramid in Egypt, 52 degrees. So these are actually great oscillating crystal, generators. And the crystals grow in a phi ratio spiral too. You can see the spiral growth of a crystal. And in the left-hand spiral, north of the equator and down south of the equator, crystals grow in the other direction. Okay. Now let's look at sound here. Let me get into full screen here. Sound waves, we can see this is how sound waves travel through air. And then we can look at the Om symbol and we can see the direct relationship between the way sound moves through air and the symbol of Om. So the ancient rishis, 5,000 years ago, the adepts, and they accessed heightened states of awareness and clairvoyance and vision, and they could see into the quantum realm and see the patterns that the sound waves of the mantras were making in the Sanskrit language. Now here is the Sanskrit alphabet right here. And one day I was in a yoga class and I was in downward dog looking at this poster on the wall upside down. And it appeared to me like this. So what I realized was, oh my God, the Sanskrit language, look, it looks like yoga. This is yoga, okay? So here's the Sanskrit language, flip it upside down, here's everybody doing their yoga, and then I got the poster of yoga right here, and look at that. See? You see the relationship there? Isn't that fascinating? This just came to me recently. The piece was Sanskrit, that upside down. I've been using that for the last couple of years, and then I realized, oh, I got to put the yoga poster next to it so you can see all three of them together. So the Sanskrit is a reflection of the primordial seed syllables, the light language that the 5 major light languages are based on. When you do yoga, you're getting into these ecstatic postures which are in resonance with the seed syllables, and that way you access energy and you start to vibrate differently when you do yoga. That's why it's so powerful, and for 5,000 years it has a long lineage of awakened beings through the path of yoga. Then I found this just before coming to see you. Here is the Tibetan Sanskrit. This is one of the other light language, sacred languages of ancient antiquity. And we can see the forms here, how they relate to each other. And Hebrew, of course, is one of the fire letters of Hebrew, is an ancient light language as well. And Chinese is as well, Chinese. That's Tibetan again. And then, of course, Greek on the top, and then this alphabet is the Enochian alphabet, which is used in magic and invoking angels. Very ancient, alchemical, esoteric alphabet that was given by the angels to some humans that received this. And then this is a tetragrammatron, so when you learn to work with light language and the Enochian alphabet to invoke angels, there's also these different patterns combinations of the syllables to create certain formula that the alchemist would use, ultimately for enlightenment. This is all based on sound. In the beginning was the word. So now we'll look at sound again. Here's harmonics. And we can see, like on my harp, when I pluck the middle C string, all the other C strings above and below and the octaves all the way to infinity begin to vibrate through harmonic resonance. So that shows the relationship between the layers of the harmonic. So here's the fundamental in red. And then you can see as it reverberates through time and space, we can almost see a phi ratio relationship between the harmonics. When you play the harp, because the harp is based on the phi ratio curve and the harmonic wave, the top part of the harp, the sound quality of a harp is so healing. That's why it's played in temples throughout ancient antiquity, throughout many cultures. It has the ability to open, into the portals through harmonic structure of sound to call in the angels and to access. Here's some other images of harmonics. I'm going to start flowing through here. Harmonics. Just studying this to familiarize yourself with the pattern. This is more kind of technical, showing music. Are the dimensions harmonically arranged according to the laws of musical proportion? The angels say yes. That's what they tell me. So very good study to understand harmonic patterns. Here's a chart for the harmonic scales. Different views of it, different interpretations of harmonics. This is like the curve of a harp, showing really the golden mean proportion of the harmonic scale. Even astrology is harmonics, planetary harmonics. So at the time of your birth, the planets were in a position all singing their tone, created a beautiful pattern based on their relationship to one another and imprinted on your cellular, DNA and on your soul. Even the stock market moves in harmonic patterns. This is a 24 hours of the dollar, rise and fall of the dollar in the international currency markets. I did a teleseminar just 2 weeks ago and shared this, and a woman who was in the audience, she turned out to be a stockbroker from New York, wrote a book on the Fibonacci harmonic patterns found in the stock market and for investing to affirm my thought about seeing the harmonics in the market. I forgot offhand. This is the Temple of Sound in Egypt, in Saqqara. I went here, I took the picture. This is the main entrance. The main entrance to the temple, and you can see it's not symmetrical. This is a sound healing temple in Egypt, perhaps the most famous for sound healing. They're communicating something, they're showing us something with this, these, you can almost see here, this section, and this section. It's a phi ratio golden section built right into the temple. The main door. This is inside with the step pyramid. I played my harp in the subterranean pit with a group of people. And then also playing here on against these pillars here, very unique. This is the main Temple of Sound area in Saqqara. There's 3 tuning fork pillars, and if you look at them, they're all different. But we can see a progression, a chordal harmonic progression on the sides, so that they're tuned to a specific frequency. When the wind plays through here and blows, they almost sing with a tone. You can hear it if you're quiet and listen to the subtleties. And I got to play my harp up there. It was awesome. Now, as I was looking at those, then reflecting on the crop circles, I remembered this one. And you can see here there's a relationship of 3 spheres, phi ratio, going here, and seeing this kind of stepping down pattern here. What I was told was this is a time spiral. It's like a lock, like when you're opening up a vault. So when you're accessing portals throughout the time-space continuum, there's codes to unlock into time for time travel. So they're showing us this pattern here, and then certainly somebody came along and deciphered it, and the whole thing is a phi ratio. As we know that the time spiral is phi ratio. So what I was told is that the ETs, they travel at superluminal speeds, which is faster than the speed of light, to travel these great distances. The Pleiadians can make it here from their planet apparently in 7 minutes with their Pleiadian beamship. But what they do is they don't, when you're traveling from past to future, you don't travel linearly along the time spiral, the whole thing. You make these hyper jumps on the rings, and that's by fine-tuning the light ships, because each ring has like a different frequency. You can just zero in like a radio bandwidth that you want to travel to, and they have it all calculated for, on the 3D time, and it's quite interesting. Here we can see how light moves, and it's similar to sound. Here we can see, here we live in the visible, right here in the rainbow, 7 spectrum light, humans. And as we go to ultra low frequency down into infrared and radio waves slowing down, it gets the wavelength of the sound is as big as Mount Everest, and then skyscrapers and human-sized fingernail. And then when you go the other direction, you go real small up into the ultraviolet X-ray and gamma ray, where it's very radio. In the higher chakra gamma ray, which is the violet, ultraviolet spectrum. You have to be in a very high vibration in order to access these. Of course, the light is affecting our DNA that we're tuning into with all of this. Now, our DNA is a crystalline harmonic structure of all sacred geometries. This is scientific schematics of it. This is looking vertically down DNA. We can see its relationship to the flower of life. So, of course, flower of life is encoded in our cellular DNA structure. Here's more views of DNA. Here's the chemical composition of DNA. This is very interesting here. I have to move along because I'm going to run out of time. But I was studying these patterns, and then it reminded me of something. And then so I remembered this. Do you know what this is? The Mayan calendar, the Tzolk'in, which is the harmonic module, which gave us the basis of the 2012 date, first brought into popular culture by Jose Arguelles, who wrote many books about it. But here we can see this pattern here. These are all based on relationship, and we can see this pattern here. This is like a double helix spiral of DNA. I'm going to look at that here. Now what I wanted to show you, hold on, let me just get out of this here. Let me see here what I got for you. Okay, it's farther down. So that DNA spiral, of course, our energy pathways move in a spiral too. The two main, Ida and Pingala, Sushumna up the center. One's solar, one's lunar. You balance your energies. The Kundalini rises through the chakras, ultimately illuminating the crown chakra, the third eye, into an enlightened, each chakra singing in perfect harmonic structure with each other. So the idea is for us to master this energy, all of us, right now, in the lifetime. Or you come back in another lifetime. But you want to go to the next level, you got to master this. It's not too hard. You just got to sit and tune into your energy body. Now this is interesting relationship of correspondence. Here's the I Ching trigrams, 8 trigrams. 8 times 8 gives us 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. It's a harmonic module as well, based on sound. Here is a chart of the hexagrams, and you can see the color code. All the red are the same. All the colors are the matching trigrams. But we see a pattern emerging here in the chart. We can see when we follow the red, it comes down here, cuts over here, makes this right angle. Do you see that? And we can see all the other colors following in the same pattern. Here's another version. But see how it's reverberations, multidimensional, the way they're relating to each other? A pattern's emerging. We can see here, actually, the yellow is coming down this line. It's crossing over this way. So we can see, once again, kind of an X shape beginning to form. 64 combinations. It directly relates to the magic squares of our founding father, Benjamin Franklin, who deciphered this back in the 1700s, I guess. 64 combinations in his magic squares. And I don't have my internet connected here. But if I did, what I would show you is that there's animation you can see. I don't think I have it. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I wish I loaded it up for you, but what you would see is what these researchers did is they added up combinations of numbers, and what a pattern emerges when you total up the numbers to reach 260, which is the exact number of days in the harmonic module of the Mayan calendar. And you see this emerging reverberation of this right angular, triangular pattern moving back and forth across the grid, up and down. It's really dramatic to see it, but there's definitely a harmonic relationship going on here. Here's the 16 by 16 magic squares of Benjamin Franklin, color-coded and showing that diamond pattern moving through it and how it relates, to the Mayan calendar. So they're harmonic. They're harmonic. This is interesting here, of course, remembering the seed of life and the tree of life overlay. And let me go along here pretty quick. Some of you haven't seen this. This is cell mitosis. We all pass through this particular metamorphosis from a single cell to the double cell. So here's the first 8 cells. We can see the seed of life pattern from the flower of life right there. So this is the seed of life. And here's the diagram of a relationship. So, Drumvalo made this very popular. He was the first one to come out with this. So we can see that this pattern is actually encoded in our very cellular structure. Further along in cell mitosis, you get more of a flower of life, larger, full flower of life. dodecahedron. And this is our embryo. We can see, I just put this in here because I realize, you know, we grow out of a spiral and we kind of blossom and kind of unfurl out of a spiral. That's how we take form. I'm going to pass on the Platonic solids. You know all this already, right? Of course, in 2012, we entered into the age of the fifth sun on December 21st, according to the Mayan prophecies and the larger solar cycles of the Mayan calendar. The center face is the age of the fifth sun, and those are the 4 previous ages around it. And of course, our sun is very active right now. I don't know if you're aware of that, but just yesterday we had a M5 class solar flare that went off. And when they had the earthquake up here last month or earlier in the month, there was a solar flare that happened that day, a large one. It was an X2, and within hours, the earthquake happened. So earthquakes are connected to solar flares. But the sun as a being, as the solar logos, as the sun god, which all ancient cultures worship, they knew because the sun pulsates harmonic frequencies of light, that are evolutionary in nature. Our sun is connected to through the whole galaxy and through the other galaxies into the great central sun, pulsating evolutionary codes to wake up our DNA. You know, a lot of us wear sunglasses right now and cut out the ultraviolet spectrum. We saw the spectrum of light in the chart. The ultraviolet is carrying the higher harmonics, the evolutionary codes, that is helping our brain to adjust because the sun is going through changes right now. The harmonic tone and the color of our sun is changing right now. So we evolve with the sun. And the idea is to get out in the sun and receive the sun every day if you can. Take off your sunglasses and receive it right through the cornea of your eye because it goes right into the pineal gland, which photosynthesizes the higher light frequencies from the sun god. So we can awaken our DNA. Here you can see this beautiful image showing a chrysalis like the awakening Homo luminous has been called. The next evolution of mankind. You can see here the energy system is dormant as we're existing in the lower spectrum, but we evolve through the rainbow path. The rainbow body of light is awakened. The chakras are lighting up till eventually we have that beautiful double helix. The heart chakra is illuminated. The hands are illuminated with the healing chakras in the hands and feet. Full harmonic being of light. This is our destiny. And this is, I love this image from the Hubble. This is the deep space image. They pointed the Hubble telescope to a nondescript place in the sky for 3 days, and all of a sudden it revealed this, hundreds, thousands of other galaxies in space. So this is the neighborhood in which we live, and in order to, really travel here, you have to have your light body intact. You don't do it with a spaceship so much. As we tune into these frequencies, our brain is awakening, the dormant parts of the gray matter, new neural pathways are connected, the pineal gland's awakening. Good to become familiar with your brain and where all these parts are. You can feel it when you meditate. They start to vibrate. The neural net is evolving. New pathways are connected in the brain so that we can synthesize higher frequencies of light and that not going to fry our nervous system. So you have to fortify your nervous system by eating lots of minerals, a healthy diet of light, as much greens and plant-based foods that vibrate higher to help us raise our vibration. That's pretty basic. It's not even an argument. Should we eat meat or vegetable? It's like you want to create your light body, then eat as much light as you can, Pretty simple. And then we meditate on the sacred forms. The crown chakra opens up and we start to see the patterns on the inner planes. They're like doorways, portals, and they unlock and give you access. There's that old saying, knock and the door shall be opened unto you, into heaven. So this is heaven. This is going into heaven, into the fifth dimension. It's really the first level of the unified field of oneness, of divine love, where all sense of separation is transformed and transmuted into a complete feeling of oneness and unity with all things. Many of us have had a glimpse of this state by one way or the other. Ideally, we'll be fully grounded because the more you tune into this and you connect up with your higher self and your luminous self, you embody that here on earth. So we anchor light through our physical body, through our chakras into the Earth chakra to pull light into the Earth sphere, into the planetary sphere. You know, when you're vibrating high, you come up to somebody, they're like, wow, you feel great, you know, because you're... So the more of us can do that, we all lift each other and help to hold through harmonic resonance, stabilize in the new frequency. We're each holding a piece of it because it's a beautiful musical note. It's a music of a higher frequency. And your perceptions become more sensitive. More and more we see ourselves as a pure energy being. You can experience the nadis, the meridians, where the subtle energy flows. It's very important to open these subtle energy portals for the light body. So that's why yoga is so great, because it fortifies and vivifies the nervous system, opens up the nadis and the meridians so that the pranic energy can flow better and you channel more light. You know, if you really were to plug in a lot of light and you're toxic and your system is weak, it could kill you or drive you crazy. There's a lot of people in, you know, mental institutions that have had these awakenings, but they didn't know how to handle it because they weren't stable enough. But more and more we start to see ourselves just singing the pure harmonic rainbow of light in our rainbow light body. Many esoteric traditions speak of the rainbow body, including Tibetan Buddhism of Vajrayana, of the Dalai Lama, the Tantric sect. That's one of the main attainment goals, is to attain the rainbow body of light. We also see it as William Henry. If you watch Ancient Aliens and know William, he talks a lot about the rainbow body of light, especially in Christian iconography. We can see around the saints and Jesus this rainbow color of light. And then, of course, you can start to visualize and access by awakening the sacred geometries in your DNA. Then you can see yourself, you know, in the sacred geometries of the Merkaba, of the light body, and learn how to interact with that, which is your, you know, your light vehicle. Merkaba means light spirit body. So you can infuse it with your pranic breath and visualize the sacred geometries, get your chakras singing harmonically, and learn how to activate and spin your field, and then you can navigate through interdimensional space and time. I've had direct experience of this. I learned the light body flower of life meditation in 1986 with Drunvalo when he first was starting to teach it. So I've been having a lot of experience. By doing this, then you get your wings, you see. You access your angelic self, your Christ self, your angelic. This is really the pure. You have to get pure for this. You have to purify your mind, your emotions, your pain body, your physical body. You know, otherwise you access it through death, the portal of death. But many of us are here, as we know, to fully awaken to this luminous light body in this life incarnation, not when we die. And of course, your holographic perceptions, the dolphins teach us about this, and they can project with the mind these sacred geometries into this kind of quantum realm. Everything, we're just seeing reality. As I walk down the street oftentimes, and I'm seeing trees, buildings, people, it looks to me like this. You can see actually the atomic structure of these things, the fractal-like nature of reality, because it actually, even us right now in this moment of time, we're actually emerging through time on the time-space continuum, evolving. We're in evolutionary experience here. So even right now, there is a blossoming forth. We're learning, we're expanding, and it all unfolds in this beautiful pattern. And you can start to see the patterns. And then when you start to sing harmonically in your energy body, you can attract your sacred partner that's also singing the higher harmonic. And then you can have, you know, the tantric union, that incredible bliss, even just for a moment, you know. And it's powerful. Otherwise, when we're wanting to attract somebody from our lower vibrational place or our ego, then that spells trouble for us ultimately. Just some other visions of awakening the light body and the angelic self. And then you can travel into the jeweled realms of the higher planes of the mansion worlds. And this is one of the main meditations. I love to kind of end here with this, and we'll see how much time we have. But this was one of the main meditations for me working with the angels and ascended masters. This is the main visualization as I would sit. I showed you that picture of that beam of light coming out of the top of my head. Here it is, right here. So The idea is to open your chakras and then, move up through your heart into the higher chakras of the third eye and open the crown chakra, connect with the pillar of light, the Sushumna, coming through your root chakra all the way up, and then traveling up through these different planes here to ultimately unite with your divine self, with your I am presence, with your rainbow body. See the rainbow color around it? That is the collection of all the good deeds in all of your lifetimes are stored here in your rainbow body. We all know that when we do good karma, our energy field builds. We get stronger the more we give and the more we get in light. So let me see what I got next here. Just a few pictures of my stained glass windows here. This is in my home in Sedona. And this captures the light morning sun coming through this piece, through the crystal pyramid. And then it projects on the wall in the house, this image. A beautiful rainbow angel. Look at that. We have a vortex created here in the center of the house with the pyramid here. And look where it appeared. It came through the portal. So we bring people up to our home, and you can come into the portal, and it's powerful. It's powerful here. And then as the sun moved through the sky, it started to create this other winged rainbow angel on the roof, which ultimately led me to create my art. This was the coming of the art for me about less than a year ago, through this visitation coming through the stained glass window and the rainbow angel. These are photographs of my stained glass windows that I processed that are creating this now. And there's all sorts of different beings and showing up in these images. The angels have given us these to work with because they carry a frequency, and I do a crystal coating on them. They showed me how to frost them with quartz crystal, which amplifies the energy and the beauty of the pieces. This is interesting. This is one of the early pieces that came through, and I was having really a revelation with it. You can see this amazing six-pointed star, but then as I was looking here, these little fire specks here, then I realized, oh my God, it's the angels. It's the cherubs around the central star of light. Let's see. I'm going to show you that. Let me flip through here. I got here. So look at those little specks of light. And you can see here. Can you see the angels here? They're here's two flying right at us. Their faces are lit up. Here's a couple of kind of a side angle. And they're actually dancing in the light. They're stringing garlands of light. When I saw them, when I crossed over and saw the golden light and the cherubs were there, in angelology and mystic traditions, the cherubs are the highest order of angels, and they apparently exist closest to the throne or to paradise, to the Godhead. And here they are. There's the luminous star of golden light, and here's the angels showing up in my paintings now, just by chance. I didn't plan it. It's how it happens for me, because I am a visual artist, and everything I do, the angels appear miraculously in the structure of it. Can you see them? Yeah, isn't that neat? Here's some other new ones recently. Just kind of go through these. This is from my journeys to the crop circles. And I take my harp and let the wind play it. I receive transmissions through the rainbow sound of the wind harp, which is a mythical, legendary instrument. And when we do the sound bath with the wind harp during healings with groups. I went for 3 years leading up to 2012 doing this work there. And then in Sedona, I take people out onto the red rocks and lay the wind harp on their body. I put jewels and gems on the chakras, and we do a light body activation, invoking the angels and highest guides and ascended masters to come and activate you through the rainbow of sound. Here's famous yoga teacher Saul David Ray recently. I have a beautiful video of him here. He loved it. He just went up. Here's Emmy Award-winning music producer Chris Ferris, another Sedona local, experiencing the bliss of the wind harp. And one of the sacred places I take people, I have a Jeep and climb up way to these remote locations where we do this work. It's life-changing. I'll show you. Here's William Henry from Ancient Aliens. I'll just be quiet. Maybe you can hear this. I don't have it. Yeah, just the wind blowing through the strings vibrates the strings. But he really got off on it, so I'm going to keep going here. Then I made the recording in the crop circles. I did a light body DNA activation with a group. In this crop circle, I had my digital recorder and recorded the sound transmission. And it gave me the CD, which I have at my booth, Circles of Light. It's exactly 33 minutes, 33 100ths, and 33 seconds and 33 100ths in length. 333. I was told to make it that by the crop circles ETs I was communicating with and receiving the codes. This is an interesting chart from the GDV camera, which is the $30,000 Russian Aura camera that takes an impression off your fingerprints and then shows you the alignment of the chakras. So we can see before picture on the left. The person was in pretty good balance. Then they tried some other healing music from another artist, and it put them out of whack. And then they played my Circles of Light, and it created on the right a perfect alignment almost of the. Here's showing the biofield here, and you can see the camera picks up on weak areas that correspond to internal organs and different body systems. Then after 3 minutes of listening to Circles of Light, you have a really strong field, fortified and vibrant. Here's another one, before and after. On the left, Circles of Light really brings that crown chakra and the root chakra and the third eye, almost perfect vertical alignment so that you can channel the central pillar of light. That's what this was given to us for, to help activate the light body, to get all the harmonics singing. Are there any questions at this point? I know you're all stunned in awe. I love all this stuff, you know, it's to explore this. Let's just go through here. I was in this crop circle here. Just show you some of the circles. I was in this one. Here we can see the 333 encoded. It's encoded in a lot of the circles, very important. Just go through here. You can see them. These all carry harmonic codes, so I highly suggest that you go to cropcircleconnector or .com or temporarytemples.com. These are the two main websites for the archived images of the crop circles. I would suggest going back in years sometime to the mid, 2000s up to 2012. Quite a progression of patterns. Just by looking at them, they really can affect your consciousness, really teaching us about the dimensions. Just look at a few of these. Cropcircleconnector.com. This one I love because it kind of shows perhaps our sun, a solar disk on a serpent, because this is how it rides through the galaxy. And it's going through a portal, a threshold, and then it emerges. So this was right before 2012, and it was thought maybe it was showing us that we're traveling through some sort of Stargate portal with the planet. This is one of the most famous ones. I don't have time to get into it, but there's a whole communication on this one. This is a holographic message. This is all ASCII computer code here with a message. This is a Zeta Reticulin alien with 3 spaceships right here, representing the 3 ships that crashed at Roswell with these beings in it. They've been with us for a long time. Some people call them the Watchers, but they're really connected to us, yet they've been demonized, of course. They're not all bad. But this message that they left us here is exactly 33 rings of communication. Very important harmonic. And the message in it, do you know what it says in the disc? It says, if I can remember, beware the bringers of false, beware the bringers of false promises and broken something. We oppose deception. We oppose deception. Something like time is moving, but there's still time left to make it through this gate. And then there's kind of a final thing. I can't remember exactly. Fascinating. You'll find it. This one is called the Alien Crop Circle. Just Google it. Alien Crop Circle. You'll see it. But what I discovered, this is really interesting here. When I went to Egypt, you can see the pyramids. This is one of the most important codes of all this recently is the 333. It relates to the Sri Yantra because the Sri Yantra, as we saw, connected to the flower of life. Sri Yantra is actually 3 groups of 3 triangles creating that pattern, what the scholars say. So there's 9 triangles, 3 groups of 3, 3, 3, 3. Also here in the pyramids, we can see there's 3 pyramids related to phi ratio proportion. Here's another 3 here, supposedly the pyramids of the queen. I took this picture. And then 3 levels on each one. So 3, 3, and 3 again. We can see that encoded. And then, as I moved further along, I found it also in the temple of Horus. And we can see 3 panels here. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We can see they're showing us dimension. This guy's big, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller. So in all the temples are encoded the dimensional relationship here, trying to change our perception as we go into the temple, which has 3 rows of 3 pillars on each side, going into the Holy of Holies. You're entering into the center of the Sri Yantra here, into the center of the flower of life. 3 levels at Hesheput's temple. I'm going to go through these real quick. I don't want to stop here. Now this was interesting. This was in Peru, the same trip. This is in the Sacred Valley, Ollantay Tambo. I took this picture of the Temple of the Sun, which is up on a tall ridge, and we can, as I was studying it, after they were giving me these downloads about 333, I revisited my travel shots from Peru, and looking at this, I realized, oh my God, there it is, the 333. Look, 1, 2, 3. They're progressing in height, and then over here, 1, 2, 3, progressing in height, but over here, look, 1, 2, 3, notched in on the very first. Do you see that? 3, 3, 3. This is a dimensional portal. You've got to work with this number, with this frequency, 3, 3, 3. You'll start seeing it now. And then what was interesting was in Peru, you see the 3 levels are very common because Peruvian and Incan cosmology, we live in the middle world, there's an underworld and a spiritual world above. 3 levels of creation reality. But and you see that motif in a lot of their art. But here on this temple, very interesting because we see, here they do the motif, but this one has 5 levels. So what I was told is that the 333 is really a dimensional portal into the 5th dimension. Now down here, this is below the temple, and this is the sacred bath where the queen would bathe before she would go up and do her rituals with the king up at the Temple of the Sun. And we can see here, we can see the 3 levels, so prominent, but then 3 dimensional levels going in. So they're showing us, everything is like this dimension going through time and space, going deeper and deeper into dimensions. And they even sculpt their fields where they would grow the food in this 333 pattern everywhere. Isn't that magical? And then I started to see in the red rocks of Sedona, this is the view near my house. Here's this pyramid rock, and we can see here's 1, here's 2, and there's actually a baby 3rd one starting here. You can see this all through the red rocks of Sedona, 333. This is the template, the Sri Yantra flower of life. Everything emerges out of that template, out of that matrix, out of that pattern, including us and the red rocks, because in Sedona, these are crystalline rock layers, and over millions of years of erosion, it's exposed the lattice work, the underpinnings of the rocks to show us this emerging 333. Can you see it? It's in the beginning was the word. Everything was created out of sound. The Hopi, Navajo, all the ancient, everything was sung into creation from sound. So what we're seeing here on this beautiful limestone formation called the Crimson Cliffs, we can see the perfect pyramid. Here's another one here. Here's the 2nd harmonic, 3rd harmonic, and then down here, 4th harmonic and 5th harmonic, just like we saw on the charts of sound. Everything is an emanation, a reverberation from the original seed syllable, the sound of creation, the Big Bang, whatever, Om, so it's all coming forth. This is the view from my deck in our house. Here's Thunder Mountain, which is a major crystalline temple, power point. Here we can see the main mass here. Here's the 2nd section and the 3rd section. You can see it's phi ratio proportion to each other. Then down here is Sugarloaf Rock and then Chimney Rock here. And we can see this Chimney Rock here. We can actually see another one starting here and another one starting here. So this is, you know, the harmonic group here, this triad. Then the next three is down here. And then perhaps the first one has already reverberated through. Yes? Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Here's another by my house. You can see this rock face. We can see this line here. One. Here's another one. Two. And then a third one here. So we're seeing this 333 everywhere. No, this is Wilson Mountain near Steamboat Rock. Can you see the 333 there, that line? Everything is a reverberation. Here again, we can see this formation, and we can see actually, oh, this one, 1, 2, and then 3. We can see it in the landscape here. That's why it's such a sacred place. And of course, the crop circles show us a little bit more. It's 5 o'clock. Do we have more time? Do you want me to do 5 more minutes? Is there anybody here to follow me? Okay, you want me to keep going just a couple more minutes? All right. Just a few more of these shots. Here's 333 in the crop circle. Yes? No. Vortex math? No, I have to get that name when I'm done. Okay. Look at this 333. You see it? That must be important if they're showing us this. They want us to really understand this, and they gave me that. Just some beautiful artwork in the fields. Overnight. Nobody's ever been caught making one, ever. In the 50 years or 100 years, nobody's ever been caught. Exactly, because it doesn't get dark till 11 o'clock in the summertime in England, and it gets light at 5. There's a lot of great stories. There's hexagonal shape, chemical bonding, perhaps they're showing us. You can see everything is a reverberation, showing the relationship, so we can see the reverberated kind of nature of the sound waves and training our brain to perceive this. Very important. Here's a 333 code in this one too. 3 groups of 3 spirals in the center and then 9 triangles on the outside. Huh? That's the white horse. It's prehistoric. It's for the horse clan there, the Celtic kind of horse clan. Just flip through these real quick. These are some of my favorite images. We haven't had any like this since 2012. Nothing as complex. It built to 2012, and I've been watching it, you know, through the websites, and there's a lot of fakes now. And there was talk before 2012. Some of the people in the know and who were communicating got messages that they were going to stop after 2012. That's kind of been my experience. Nothing of this grandeur has appeared since 2012. Beautiful symmetry. Arcturian, they believe. Look how they're teaching us about the dimensions here. Try doing that in the middle of the night in the dark. Yes? The beings? Sure, there's lots of sightings of UFOs, and there's some famous footage of circles being created that you can see on YouTube. Yeah. I'll just flip through a few more of these. That was a scarab. Solar disk. They show us about everything: astrophysics, positions of planets, cell biology, quantum physics, mathematics, fractals, sacred geometry. You can see the people standing in that upper left quadrant. Beautiful, beautiful hyper quantum communication coming in patterns and sacred geometries. You don't have to understand this. You just look at it and receive it, receive the codes. So go to those websites and just stare at these things for a while and just receive the codes that they've been giving us, because I think they're very important. A few more. There's a famous story about this one. There was a night watch. Every night during crop circle season, there's groups that are up on the hills with infrared night vision and watching for lights and signs of circle makers. The couple famous guys are up on this hill adjacent to this field. It's a very famous field for always getting an impressive crop circle every year. And they were up on the field with their cameras, video cameras. Nothing happened all night long. And it was just as the sun was rising, and they just thought that it was over, you know, and they kind of turned around, they went to their stuff, and they turned back around, and all of a sudden, this was in the field. Within a moment, over 400 circles, perfect phi ratio, flawless execution. Look in the middle there. That's a person sitting in the middle of it. You're going to tell me this was made by a couple of Englishmen with boards on their feet? You can see the difference between a man-made one, because the lay of the grass is more rough and it doesn't lay, where these are just, it's like something blew it, swirled it down, and just perfect, beautiful, like that. See? Each one is a perfect spiral. Perfect spiral. See that? Imagine what that person feels like. I've been in ones like this. It's amazing. Totally amazing. And we do the groups in the middle, and they're pulsing with energy. There's been a lot of scientific equipment taken in. There's definitely electromagnetic phenomena going on with it. I like with my digital camera ones, my little Canon that, pocket digital camera, and you push the button and the lens pops out, take a picture, put it away. Well, when I was in a crop circle, I would turn off the camera, lens would go in, I'd be holding, all of a sudden it would turn on by itself. I'd turn it off, and then it would just pop out and turn on. And we were all watching this going, get out of the crop circle, works fine. Yeah, so these really affect your DNA when you go in them, because they're spinning all these, there's a vortex of energy in these things. Look at that, huh? Perfect lines. Perfect, flawless. Now you look at them, the ones now that have been happening, they're all crooked and obviously man-made, and there's that alien communication again. These are believed to be Arcturian. These are codes and time signature codes, harmonic codes, patterns that have been deciphered with meaning. You can see some people standing in the center there. This one I was in. This one appeared in 3 nights. The first night was this section here, or this piece. The next night was this, and then the third night was this. Check it out. I walked through that. I walked through that maze of light language. And by the time we started here with my group, coming up here, walking through all this, our group, getting in here, and then coming all the way up into the central disc where I showed you those pictures where I had 5 people laying down and I was over them. That was right in the central disc here, this one. Labyrinth? Labyrinth? Sure. Yeah. There. Yeah, like at Chartres Cathedral. We have a replica in Sedona at the Los Arrogados Resort, and my son he's 3.5, he loves to run through it. We go down there all the time, but it's basically showing us it's like 2 hemispheres of the brain, so it's very balancing. When you go walk through it both directions, it kind of balances your electromagnetic, frequencies, the hemispheres of your brain. Perhaps. Look how check this out. Now, this circle is very famous. I was in this one. It was a bitch to get to. But this is a hypercube. in sacred geometry. It's based on the flower of life. And what's interesting about this year they started making the circles three-dimensional. So you can see these sections here, what this is. I wish I had a close-up of it. It's what they did is, instead of flattening the crop all the way like they did on the periphery here, in these section, the crop was bent from halfway up. Halfway up. How do you do that? Oh, there's that previous one showing earlier evolution of it. Notice how they're showing us here again the relationship, the harmonic relationship of all these parts. Of course, with this one, we see the alien in it. Do you see the alien face? Here. And here's the eyes. So it could be Zeta Reticulin, grays. They're very advanced. They're here to help us. Most of them. And then this is just a few pictures of my recent art, so we can get a sense for this. There's pattern, circles of light of the wind harp recording. And that's back to Sedona. We made a circle. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't that fun journey? Can't you feel just kind of some